Hey, this is Notser, and we're back from vacation. What a time. Everyone's dealing with the global pandemic. Obviously, you guys are aware. Sorry I haven't had any videos for it, but I didn't plan on the whole world shutting down. We're going to cover Petropavlovsk, though. This is the Tier 10 Alternative Branch Soviet heavy cruiser, which will be coming to the game at some point in 9.4 or 9.5 is my estimation. No confirmation on that. This is Alternative Branch, so it suggests that the main branch could theoretically keep the Moskva. Well, Wargaming is moving the Moskva to the armory, and it's going to be sold for, I believe, coal. They want to re-clarify the main line to be light cruiser only, and then the alternative branch is obviously heavy cruiser with the 220s. For a lot of people, this will be directly compared to the Moskva, and that's what I will be doing today. So we're going to take a look at the armor, we're going to take a look at the stats, we're going to take a look at a build that I like for it, and we're going to show some gameplay and overall thoughts on the ship and how I would play it and the differences between the Moskva, because the game I have is a great example of those. So we've got the armor of the ship. Now, just like the Moskva, 25mm bow and stern, it has 50mm at the waterline. It has 50mm on the deck, 50mm on the top of the hull. It has a significant amount of armor on the side, 180, and then underneath that, it has 120 protecting the citadel under the guns. The midship, only 40mm. So you would probably prefer your shell's AP to enter underneath the superstructure to get maximum citadel potential. It has 16mm of superstructure. Obviously, the gun turrets are adequate at stopping most rounds, but overall, nothing too crazy in its scheme when you compare it to the Moskva. The only thing that's really noticeable based on the armor is that the Moskva has a significant amount of its bow armor that is 50mm. So effectively, it's immune to AP bow pin when the shell hits the 50mm portion, which is going to happen more frequently on a ship like the Moskva, considering the nose size and the percentage that is 50 versus 25. Petro is definitely going to be a weaker bow tanking ship. And it's not just the armor that makes it a weaker bow tanking ship. It has 55,800 to life, which is 10,000 less than the 65,400 that is based on the Moskva. Moskva has 28% torpedo protection. The Petro only has 19%. The Petro has 3x3 220mm guns, 2 in the front, 1 in the rear. One of the unique features of the guns is that this ship has 360 gun turrets. So, unlike a lot of cruisers where it has to rotate the opposite direction when you have to switch from port to starboard, this actually operates very similarly to the Daring, the Jutland, and you can be very bow-centered or stern-centered and have those guns rotate very effectively port to starboard with minimal interruption and damage output. Base reload is 13 seconds. The base turret traverse is 38 seconds, which is really slow. Nearly battleship. Battleships at this tier have faster turret traverse. Just saying. 172 meter maximum dispersion. HE shell does 3,550 damage. Sorry. It has only a paltry 14% fire chance, and that's one of the traits of the alternative branch for the Soviets. Very, very weak fire chance. It has 37mm of base HE pin, just under the 38, which would obviously benefit against American battleship deck armor. The AP shell has a maximum damage of 6,350 with a maximum gun range of 18.4, and the gun velocity, being Soviet, very high, nearly 1,000 meters per second. It's just under at 995, both for AP and HE. Secondary armament, honestly, not very relevant. It's only 5-kilometer range, and if you're in secondary gun range, man, you better win, because it's going to be brutal. AA defense, honestly, pretty outstanding. Its medium range is much better than its long range, but it's definitely capable of defending itself, and because of the way the gun turrets work, it can be more active in maneuvering, which obviously helps in defense against air. As many of you know, the maximum speed and also the AA gun range, 6.6 kilometers, very nice. The maximum speed, 32.5 knots. The turn radius, 990 meters. The rudder shift base is 12 seconds. The concealment base is 14.4. We'll touch on that in a little bit. Air detection, 8.3. And then while firing, you have a 9-kilometer gun penalty, which, if you've played any Italian cruisers, is roughly where you would expect it to be. So that's not too bad. Let's take a look at the build for my Petro and some gameplay. And now, as far as the build is concerned, nothing too spectacular. Main armament, we've got extended duration radar, faster turret traverse, faster rudder shift, concealment, main gun reload, all of which is trying to encourage this active maneuvering, aggressive behavior that I'm really embracing more and more, and with the changes to that upgrade, it's really allowed that more possible on ships that, quite frankly, their turret traverse is below average speed. And I would say Petro has a below average speed. As far as commander skills, it's the exact same commander I use on my Moskva and my Stalingrad. I love it. It has improved preventative maintenance and high alert, both of which are great for, honestly, a bigger, healthier cruiser, and Petro is definitely that. It has significant armor, even if it has giant weak points on its nose, when compared to the Moskva. So let's take a look and see how this works out. Enemy Des Moines, I think he pulls on a hard Notser for whatever reason, and we're engaging with our AP. Now, we do 3 pin, but we only do like 1,000 points of damage, so clearly our AP was able to punch in to the guns, damage them, but they absorb damage that will actually go towards the ship. Clearly someone's capturing, so we're using our radar. This brings me to my first point of this ship. With a full concealment build, I have 11.7 kilometer detection. It has a 12 kilometer range radar, so it can stealth radar. Now, it can barely stealth radar, but it can still stealth radar, and beyond that, the effect of having radar activate 1-to-1 with your concealment means that if you see situational awareness go off, you basically activate radar, and you're going to see whoever is responsible. In this instance, the Daring, he runs right through. Don't know why he didn't stop behind that. Maybe he felt like he had no place to go, but he does end up running into the island, and we're firing with HE. The HE is not as spectacular as something like the Moskva, especially considering how good the AP shell is. What we're going to end up trying to do is maybe encourage more AP fire and less HE fire on a ship like this, maybe because of the high gun velocity. I don't know the reason for the focus on AP versus HE, but effectively, the AP is so effective, it is almost too effective at times. Some light cruisers, it'll just overpin super hard, but when you find the right type of target, you will easily rack up 10 to 15, 20 citadels per battle, and that is not something that can easily be done in something like the Moskva. Moskva is known to specialize more in HE versus AP. The Stalingrad is the AP ship. Stalingrad's 305s. These are 220s. But it effectively has that same sort of punching power and decisive nature that the Stalingrad has, with a smaller overall damage output of the guns themselves because of the caliber. So yeah, the situation with radar is an interesting one. I can't say that I'm thrilled by the prospects of it being stealth capable. Obviously the Moskva can't do that, but the Moskva, to be fair, is more tanky than this ship. It has more health, it has more significant armor, and it has less weak armor overall for the percentage of the bows and the sterns. So in a bow position, absolutely Moskva is nearly a battleship replacement. This can be a battleship replacement, but it is a battleship replacement similar to something like the Thunderer, where it has, fast turret traverse, it has fast rudder shift, it has pretty, fair reload, all things considered, but it gets a lot of its mitigation from maneuvering, whereas the Moskva isn't really doing that. It can't. It doesn't have the 360 gun turrets to really allow for a more active environment. I can't remember a cruiser this big having access to that feature. It's normally reserved for much smaller ships, light cruisers and DDs. We have that attached to British DDs right now, and especially the Lightning, the Jutland, and the Daring. And obviously, it's a spectacular trait. And We get a Cleveland broadside. So I'm like, oh, let's take this guy out. Super high gun velocity, guys. So you really could draw it in, basically point blank shot, and I should be able to land. But look at this. 5 overpins on a perfect broadside. And a deer does nearly no damage. That's one of the aspects of the Petro that I definitely notice more frequently than not. It is definitely overpinning hard on a lightly armored ship. But with a slight angle, if he would just slightly show a little bit more softer, and man, I'm hoping he does, I should be able to citadel him. And I think he's over softening there. Remember also, high gun velocity. So these shells are going to just punch through at a point-blank distance. Unlike something like the Des Moines, where the shell arc sort of naturally allows it to go into the citadel, you really have to get fortunate that the person is the right distance from you for the shell to get into the ship but not overpin. And that's a definite trait that I've noticed playing it. Other things that you notice playing it is just that, man, that's a giant gonzo nose. It's very easy for them to do tons of damage to it. And boy, am I in a tough spot. But because I have really fast turret traverse, and because I have super solid armor, I mean, clearly 50 millimeters is a 50 millimeter. It's just in regard to the Moskva, it's an advantage for the Moskva's ability because it just has so much more. But it's still head and shoulders above anything I'm fighting, clearly. And finally, we get a citadel. It doesn't overpin or just pin. And this Des Moines, unfortunately for him, he's the next target. And just the turret traverse, the gun reload is just right, I feel like. I can easily engage, and obviously location, we're going to do tons of damage. And man, just like that, we racked up 7 citadels, and we're getting some broadside shots. I do not want to take that damage, and unfortunately I have double fire on me. One thing that is very apparent, you definitely miss the 10,000 life that you do not have compared to the Moskva, which obviously helps against HE, AP, torpedoes, whatever it is, it's going to make you last longer. And if I had 10,000 more life, I probably could have gone after the Zal, but he is a fire starter, and he's already set 2 more fires on me that are burning quite rapidly, and I just don't have the ability to sustain this kind of incoming damage at this point. But we are doing a ton of damage, and we are still forcing the opponent to work through a lot of our armor and health, and we get a nice citadel. He's basically set up for complete destruction by the Moskva. Complete destruction by the Moskva. Boy. When you see AP shells just like go through a ship and do 0 damage, it's always so disappointing. It's like, oh, if it had HE, probably would have killed him, but if he follows up again, he takes him out. So, clearly, our division's doing very well. Rutan's in the Moskva, I was in the Petro. The Moskva, for competitive aspects, is well known for bow tanking, and it's well known for sort of positioning itself similarly to a battleship on a flank. It's a very healthy ship to absorb incoming potential fire, but also it is resilient enough that it can push through without actually taking any damage on its nose. And the nose is so tiny that it's very hard to consistently hit from range. That is not going to be the case for the Petro. I am very worried for the Petro if it ever wants to be in a perfect bow position, because it will be incredibly easy to kill if you know where to shoot. And everyone should know where to shoot now because you guys have seen it. But that is one huge change. It still has a 50. Another aspect, it feels like, and I can't confirm this with actual numbers, sorry, it feels like the number 3 gun turret on the Petro has better gun arcs so that you can have a more extreme angle to your opponent and have all 9 guns firing, whereas with the Moskva, you have a little bit more bulkier superstructure that gets in the way. So when I was talking about this on stream, it ends up playing like a Moskva is sort of a battleship light, and a Petro is more akin to a traditional cruiser, where it has strengths and weaknesses, and it certainly has armor positions that are beneficial, but it has vulnerabilities. And the vulnerabilities are easier to punish than the Moskva. And I feel like because of that, the Moskva is going to probably play a little bit easier for the majority of the community, although I think that there's more potential in damage output and alpha in the Petro, which I appreciate. Obviously, it's sort of like an AEP Stalingrad 220 with a little bit more vulnerable nose, but it has that added benefit of the 360 gun turrets. So yes, it has more vulnerabilities that are larger. It has less health, but it has an easier time maintaining perfect angle, and it also has an easier time having nearly perfect damage per minute on a target versus the Moskva. Those are the two things that I notice. But obviously, Moskva has faster reload. It has more solid HE, which it's known for, and HE ends up being more consistent in some matchups, DDs, and some other ships, maybe an angled battleship. But AP is AP, and a legit AP is devastating anytime. That's why the Des Moines is so recognizable for its power. It's AP shell. And the way it works and the reload, it is just so devastating. I'm hoping that it's devastating to the right type of target. AP is definitely more fair for the community. I think everyone can agree to that. And it's something that is easier to counter for your opponent. So, ultimately, the biggest complaint that I have with the Petro is that stealth radar. Yeah, it has weaker HE, but forcing a target to be spotted for 20 seconds without any warning of your existence is unfair. And it's especially unfair when you're asking DDs with no way of recovering their health to deal with it. It wasn't fair when the Worcester had the ability to stealth radar. It's not fair right now with this ship. It's not honestly fair with the Chapayev. Thankfully, Chapayev has a horrible turn radius, so it's easy to punish, but you can't keep doing this and expecting different results. Please do not introduce the Petro with stealth radar capabilities. Obviously, leave in the comments what you think on that one, but everything else, the 360 gun turrets, they feel nice. AP, very satisfying. Maybe too satisfying, but I don't think that it's unfair because players can angle against it. AP's always had that sort of risk versus reward, and I've loved it, and I continue to enjoy it. And with the Petro, obviously, it's encouraged, and it's a pleasure to pilot with the 360. It's just that stealth radar, man. That just has to go. Please get rid of it. It's not fair. I'm happy to be back. Can't wait to make more videos and stream for all of you. Please, though, stay safe out there. Thanks for watching. If you'd like to check out more of my content, you can click the most recent or the most relevant uploads. You could also choose to subscribe to my channel. We do daily World Wars videos, first impression, how-to, news, and review related. My North American recruit invite is on the screen. You can take advantage of that. I stream at twitch.tv/Notser. Thank you, have a wonderful day, and I'll catch you next time.